The truck engine cut out somewhere in the Italian darkness, miles behind enemy lines. 16 German soldiers sat in the loading space, dressed in Wehrmacht uniforms, carrying forged documents so perfect that even their own military police couldn't spot the fakes. 2 American OSS agents sat with them, armed but outnumbered 8-1. Barbara Lauwers, the woman who had recruited these men from POW camps near Naples, later recalled there was no security, and all 16 prisoners could have easily overpowered 2 guards, taken their weapons, and disappeared into the night. But they didn't, because America's first spies had convinced them that treason was the right thing to do. Before there was the Central Intelligence Agency, there was the Office of Strategic Services. Bill Donovan's band of lawyers, professors, and criminals, learning to lie, steal, and kill for their country. At its peak during World War II, the OSS employed almost 24,000 people, and among them were the Morale Operations Branch specialists, who understood something the generals did. You don't have to destroy an army if you can make it destroy itself. The idea of using German prisoners of war as agents arose after the failed assassination attempt on Adolf Hitler on July 20, 1944, when a bomb hidden in a briefcase nearly killed the Führer. From July 1944 to March 1945, the OSS carried out approximately 13 missions under Operation Sauerkraut, each involving German POWs, who volunteered to return to enemy territory dressed as Wehrmacht soldiers, carrying propaganda that looked like it came from German resistance fighters. The first candidates were recruited from a POW camp near Naples. Catholics, who hated Nazi persecution of the Church Austrians, who resented being absorbed into the Third Reich soldiers assigned to punitive battalions because of their political views, anyone who showed doubt about Hitler's thousand-year empire. OSS agents observed them for days on work details, watching how they moved, how they talked, whether they still believed in the cause. Then came the waivers documents, stating they were volunteers, willing to go behind the lines, fully aware that international law prohibits deliberately placing prisoners of war in dangerous situations, protecting the United States from potential lawsuits after the war. The selected POWs were transported to Rome, where they were equipped with German Wehrmacht uniforms, forged documents, weapons, compasses, money, cigarettes, and first aid equipment. The forged documents were masterpieces of deception: party books, complete with party fee stamps, travel permits, leave papers, and identification cards that matched the constantly changing security features the German military used. Agents were reportedly checked by German military police on several occasions, and there was only one case in which an agent was exposed. The propaganda material, however, was deliberately printed in coarser quality, designed to look like something cranked out by resistance fighters on basement presses, rather than professional Allied printing operations. One mistake would mean capture, torture, and execution as a spy rather than protection as a prisoner of war. And the Gestapo made examples of spies through public executions designed to terrorize anyone else who might consider betrayal. The missions themselves were psychological warfare at its most devastating. Sauerkraut agents would infiltrate deep behind enemy lines, sometimes traveling for days through German-held territory, distributing propaganda claiming Hitler's near assassination had sparked rebellion in the German army, that senior Nazi leaders were losing confidence that the war was already lost. The propaganda exploited every crack in German morale, fear of Soviet revenge, rumors of wonder weapons that would never arrive, whispered stories of concentration camps that made soldiers wonder what they'd really been fighting for. An interim OSS report, written on December 19, 1944, stated, "The new techniques of infiltrating POW agents has proven successful. No instance of their acting as double agents occurred. Their security was never blown. These men went back into the German army, moved among their former comrades, distributed poison disguised as patriotism, and never once betrayed the Americans who'd recruited them." The woman behind Operation Sauerkraut's success was Corporal Barbara Lauwers, a 30-year-old Czech lawyer who fled Europe in 1939 and joined the Women's Army Corps in 1943, one of only 4,000 women who would serve in the OSS. Lauwers was fluent in 5 languages and had an uncanny ability to understand what motivated people, what broke them, what made them willing to risk everything. She assembled the team of German prisoners who agreed to work against their own army, training them as cobblers, OSS slang for document forgers, and personally oversaw their preparation for missions behind enemy lines. Her dedication was instrumental to the operation's success, but she also understood the moral weight she was sending men to face torture and execution if caught. But here's where the story gets dark. The OSS made promises to these men that it never intended to keep. The German agents were promised preferential treatment, better food, better quarters, maybe citizenship, or at least comfortable lives after the war. They risked everything based on these promises, and when their missions were complete, the United States Army simply returned them to regular POW camps with no special treatment whatsoever. Ed Lindner, one of the OSS officers who worked directly with the agents, fought headquarters trying to get them paid for their services, but was told, extra compensation for POS is not looked upon with favor by this headquarters. The Sauerkraut agents never received any pay, and when Lindner wanted them released as alien civilians after the war, he was told, no, they are prisoners of war. Lindner stated bluntly, none were put on his feet by OSS, or even helped in his return into civilian life. The agents lived better in the OSS compound while operational, but they paid for those temporary comforts by becoming pariahs among their own people, marked as traitors who would carry that stigma for the rest of their lives. Imagine going from Wehrmacht soldier to prisoner to American agent to despised traitor. All within months, then spending decades wondering if you did the right thing, or if you were just a pawn. The OSS quietly returned the agents to prison camps and forgot about them, erasing them from official histories, leaving no record of their names or sacrifices. The effectiveness was remarkable. Estimates suggest that morale operations campaigns, including Operation Sauerkraut, led to the surrender or desertion of approximately 10,000 enemy soldiers. That's not 10,000 killed in combat. That's 10,000 men who simply gave up because they'd been convinced the war was over and continuing to fight was pointless. When World War II ended, the OSS was dissolved on September 20, 1945, but its intelligence tasks were carried over by its successors, eventually becoming the Central Intelligence Agency in 1947. The CIA inherited everything: the tradecraft, the spy networks, the understanding that modern warfare isn't just about bombs, but about information, deception, and psychological manipulation. William Wild Bill Donovan, the OSS director who approved Operation Sauerkraut, is regarded as the founding father of the CIA, and a statue of him stands in the lobby of CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. The techniques pioneered in Operation Sauerkraut, recruiting enemy prisoners, training them to betray their own side, using them as disposable assets, then abandoning them, became part of the CIA's standard operating procedures throughout the Cold War and beyond. Here's what keeps me up at night. Those 16 German soldiers in that truck had a choice. They could have overpowered their 2 OSS guards, stolen their weapons, and either escaped or returned to German lines, as heroes who'd fooled the Americans. Instead, they chose to go through with their mission, to walk back into the Wehrmacht, carrying lies designed to destroy it, knowing capture meant brutal death. The OSS report says their security was never blown, that not one acted as a double agent. These men committed treason against their own country, then went back to POW camps where they were despised as traitors, receiving no payment, no recognition, not even their freedom. And the most terrifying part, the CIA still uses these techniques. Modern intelligence operations still recruit enemy combatants, still train them to betray their own side, still make promises that may or may not be kept, still use human beings as disposable assets. The methods have evolved: social media psychological operations instead of printed leaflets, high-value detainees in black sites instead of POS in trucks. Operations with names we'll only learn when they're declassified 70 years from now, but the core principle remains. Find men broken, desperate, or idealistic enough to betray everything they once believed in. Use them for as long as they're useful, then discard them when the mission is complete. Operation Sauerkraut proved that the most dangerous traitor isn't the one who switches sides in battle. It's the one who looks like he is still on your side while planting poison in your ranks, whispering doubts in your soldiers' ears, making them question whether the war they're fighting is even worth dying for anymore.